Alrighty, hello friends, and welcome into the official 2025 NFL Mock Draft on Talking Sports at Work. Now, this is part 1. We're going to be doing picks 1 through 10. Subscribe, stay tuned for the rest of the draft. This is honestly all I had time for today. You guys know how my life is. If you listen to the podcast, I got to go pick up my daughter in just a little bit, and I've spent the last, I don't even know how much time just trying to get the technical aspects of this right. Even though I did it last year, it's like I forgot how everything worked. I don't know. But I think I got the PowerPoint right. I think I got the video stuff, the audio stuff, everything set up. We're good to go. We get to talk about some football. And starting off, we are talking about who else? The Tennessee Titans with the number 1 pick. Now, I'm going to try not to spend too much time on this, but I'm just going to say, look, it seems like it's pretty solidified yet. They still are, claiming they haven't made a decision. But if you listen to the podcast or you know me or you listen to me at all, you know how I feel about this. I have been saying for months that it has got to be Cam Ward. And well, actually, at the end of the college football season, or at the end of the season when we got the number 1 pick, I was saying, whichever one you like, Ward or Sanders, you've got to take the guy you believe is a franchise quarterback, though. And then as time went on and the pre-draft stuff all happened, and it became clear that it's like Ward has separated himself. And even though a lot of people say this is a down year, well, it is a down year for the quarterback draft class, I think now the sort of prevailing thinking is, no, Cam Ward is that guy. Like, he is a number 1 overall quarterback. Maybe the rest of the draft class isn't great, but he is that dude. And I'm telling you, everything, the more I listen to him, the more I watch, the more I hear about him, and I've grown to love this kid. And it's going to now break my heart if they do anything. Before, it was going to infuriate me. Now it's going to break my heart. But seriously, I mean, it's also been ridiculous this whole time. I've been saying, why are they doing this? Why are they... You're picking number 1. You don't have to put any misinformation out there. You don't have to put any smoke or anything out there. You don't have to trick anybody like you usually do in the draft. You control everything. So unless you really are planning on trying to trade that pick and you're just trying to raise the price, why are you saying any of this? I still don't get it. And that's why I'm still a little anxious and still a little worried that they might screw this up, which is going to... I'm telling you, man, if they screw this up, because... Look, they've done a good job this offseason, and that's the first time I've been able to say that about the Titans for a while. They've done a good job this offseason in just clearly preparing for a young quarterback, improving the offensive line, adding Dan Moore, who is a good left tackle, who has gotten better each year and really has the potential to be a really good left tackle, and it essentially takes care of 2 positions because now you get to move Latham where he belongs to the right side, and he has, Pro Bowl All-Pro potential as a right tackle. You signed Kevin Zeitler to take care of that right guard position. You've got Cushenberry and Skoronski, so you've significantly improved what was 2 years ago the worst offensive line in football, and that's exactly what you do if you're planning on bringing in a young quarterback. So all the things they've done this offseason have indicated that's the way they're going, and they've been the correct moves to make for that direction. So again, I still don't know why there was all this talk, and still some stuff about we still don't know, we're still open to anything, whatever. I don't know what they're thinking. But look, I mean, I have just, at the end of last season, I was saying if they screw this number 1 pickup, I'm done with them. Now, I don't know if I could actually hold to that. As fans, we know we get infuriated, and God knows as a Vols fan, for the way things were for a decade before Heupel, you wanted to give up on them if you could, but... I mean, seriously, when you're a fan and you have no control over anything, and you're watching at the very top these terrible decisions being made with this organization that you love, firing Mike Vrabel, then firing Rand Carthon inexplicably, they just didn't seem, and then you go the next year and you basically give, the position of GM, but he's not officially the GM, Chad Brinker, so you hire a GM who's just basically going to be a head scout, and you still don't really seem to know what you're doing. It's just like, and Brian Callahan, that's another conversation. I still have hope for him. Maybe with a good quarterback he can turn out okay, but that's another conversation. Most of the indications that you can look at and judge a coach on, which it's harder to judge a coach than a quarterback, or than a player, because most of their work is done behind the scenes and stuff we don't actually see on the field. But most of those indicators, terrible special teams, couldn't cover kicks, led the league in penalties, all that stuff. Not a great year for our coach. But a star, young, franchise quarterback can change everything, as we've seen the last 2 years, as we saw with Washington last year, with Houston the year before that. And that's why, as you may have guessed, I've got the Tennessee Titans taking Cam Ward at number 1 overall. Now again, if you've heard any interviews with this kid, I don't know how you couldn't love him. He just seems like such a good dude and such a likable kid. So, and watching him on the field, he just looks special. I mean, I even heard a guy on ESPN today comparing him to Mahomes, which, I mean, that may have just been a hot take trying to get, attention because this was a new face on ESPN. But, I mean, he's got everything you could want, and I don't see him, the thing that worried me about Ward was everybody talked about all his physical tools, and it sounded a lot like Will Levis, who I did not like going into that draft. And I said, I've watched a lot of Kentucky football, and I have come away from every game wondering, how is this guy being looked at as a first-round pick? And turns out I was right, unfortunately. I mean, when the Titans drafted him, I had to hope, and I, tried to, there were moments. But anyway, Cam Ward, that's not what you see. When you watch him play at Miami, you saw what everyone sees in this dude. It's like, okay, yeah, I get it. I mean, this dude is special. All right, so moving on. That's enough about the Titans for now. So moving on to the Browns at number 2. Now, this one's honestly interesting because, they need a quarterback as well. They signed Joe Flacco this morning, actually, I think. So it seems like they're just going to kind of stand pat with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco and whoever, Deshaun Watson's still on the roster, obviously. It seems like they're going to stand pat. So with that being the case, I'm thinking about the scariest edge rusher duo in football, and that would be Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett. I mean, you pair those two dudes, and that is scary for opposing offensive lines and terrifying for opposing quarterbacks. And, that would actually make a lot of sense given that you got to go against Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson twice a year. And then, maybe they can tackle Aaron Rodgers or something. I don't know what the Steelers are going to do, but actually we might get into that later in the draft. We'll find out. How about that? Yeah, Abdul Carter, I like him. He's one of those guys that just kept rising up draft boards as the season went on, and the obvious comparisons, Micah Parsons. He started as an off-ball linebacker, then he moved to edge rusher, which Parsons was a linebacker all through college. He didn't move to the line, to the edge rusher until the NFL. At least Penn State got smart and realized, maybe we might have something special on the edge here before his final year. So I'm giving the Browns Abdul Carter. Now the Giants, this one's interesting. I'm going to tell you, we keep hearing all this stuff every day about Shedeur Sanders, how he's falling down draft boards, how he's turning off people in interviews, how he pats the ball too much, how he does this, he does that. Dude, I'm going to go ahead and tell you. The Giants, I believe, are taking Shedeur Sanders at number 3 overall, and I think they, are thrilled that all this stuff is out there about him potentially falling, and B, I think they might be partially responsible for putting some of this stuff out there. Because we know the draft is some Machiavellian shit. There are millions and millions of... the economics that go into these first-round picks, especially if it's a quarterback, there are people's livelihoods from not just coaches and GMs, but, the entire staff. This is a huge, huge deal. So people people put misinformation out there. People have to take this very seriously. I think the Giants might be partially responsible for putting some of this stuff out there about Sanders because they want to ensure that he falls to them at 3 and that the Browns don't take him or somebody doesn't trade ahead of them. I see him. I see a guy who does everything you want an NFL quarterback to do. Maybe he doesn't wow you with his arm, but I always go back to this thing I heard Troy Aikman say a few years ago, and it was just on a broadcast, and he was talking about, I don't remember exactly what he said, or how he said it, but he was talking about how they're analyzing draft prospects, and he says, it drives me nuts when they're looking at these guys and they say, he's a guy who can make all the throws. Everybody can make all the throws. You wouldn't be an NFL draft prospect if you couldn't make all the throws. That's not what you're looking at. You're looking at how quickly does he process? How quickly does he get the ball out? How accurate is he? The decisions, all these things that people say you're supposed to be looking at in an NFL draft prospect. Shedeur Sanders has it. He's, legendarily tough. He's taken all these hits and only missed one game, I think. So, he doesn't have an arm that wows you. He doesn't have great athleticism, but he feels like, I don't know, like a Brock Purdy type. Like, he's going to make all the decisions. He's going to put the ball exactly where it needs to be. And I think he's a starting caliber NFL quarterback. Do I think he's a superstar, an MVP, and, maybe not. No, probably not. But I do think he's a guy who can be a starting quarterback and help you win games and be potentially a franchise quarterback, which is what you're looking for if you're, picking him third overall. That's at least what you're hoping for, is that he is your guy. And given the situation that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen are in, the thin ice they're on, I think a guy like Sanders could come in and help save their jobs right away. Other people think they're going to try to make a move that helps them, win a couple more games, as meaningless as that would be, next year. But no, they need to be looking at the future, and I think Shedeur Sanders could be that. Now, moving on to the Patriots, who have my coach. Which, I guess it makes sense. It's probably where he would have wanted to be anyway. Mike Vrabel is the coach of the Patriots now, and they are happy that probably the best overall athlete in the draft falls in their lap. And as you can see, I put, whatever position he wants. He's either going to be a corner or a wide receiver or both. At first, it seemed like maybe he'd be better as a corner, but his draft workouts and everything he did seemed like he was leaning towards receiver, but I think he still wants to play both ways. He will not be able to play both ways in the NFL. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. That's not possible. He might be able to, if you have him as your corner, he might be able to come in for a package on offense or vice versa. Dude, it's not possible. It's one thing playing in the Big 12 against those guys. You're not going to be able to, go and try to cover Jamar Chase and try to cover, any NFL receivers for a full drive, and then come in and try to be the number one and number two receiver on your off. It's just not possible. Now, he may be able to do some of both, but come on, he's not going to be able to do both, and that's okay, because he could be excellent at either one, whichever one he chooses, and he could maybe, contribute on the other side of the ball occasionally as well. Now, with the Jaguars, I went the obvious route, the way everybody's going. I think every single mock draft I have looked at has them taking the same guy because it just makes so much sense, and that's Mason Graham. They need to get better up front. He has got really incredible potential, and that position has just increased in value and importance you've seen over the last few years. If you actually look at the free agent market, particularly this offseason and a little bit last offseason, but edge rushers were not getting paid these premium, huge contracts. I mean, we saw Joey Bosa get cut. I don't even know who was the highest paid edge rusher on the free agent market, but it wasn't anything huge, I don't think. We see Trey Hendrickson's maybe going to get traded. He's not getting back. The edge rusher market is slightly going down a little bit, but these guys who can get pressure from the interior are shooting up in value. I mean, we're seeing teams might place as much, not more, but maybe as much of a premium now on your Jeffrey Simmons, your Dexter Lawrence, your interior pass rushers. Look at what the Eagles have with Jalen Carter, and I mean, these guys are really increasing in the importance and their value. Guys who can get pressure up the middle, and the Jaguars could get the best one in the draft sitting right there at number 5. Although I do still think Walter Nolan's going to surprise some people, and I think he's going to go higher than a lot of people are projecting. But Mason Graham seems like the safest, smartest pick. Now, on that note, with the Raiders, I keep seeing these mock drafts, including Mel Kiper, who have them taking Ashton Genty at number 6. That's ridiculous to me. That makes no sense at all. I get it. Pete Carroll loves to run the football, and when he's had success, he's had a great running back. You are not in a position right now to take a running back at 6. You have a lot of needs on your team. Ashton Genty's not going to help you get to the playoffs in the next couple of years. I mean, we've seen this. We see these teams when they take a running back high. Now, even though it's increased in the running back renaissance is a real thing, but it's with teams that are already good. It's Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles. It's Jahmyr Gibbs with the already really good Lions. It's these teams that are already good. It's Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. It's teams that already have most, if not all, of the other pieces in place, and then the running back puts them over the top. The Raiders are far from that. So I don't see them doing that. Now, again, when you're doing mock drafts, I guess you should really be thinking about what the team is going to do and not what they should do. With me, it's a little bit of both. I'm kind of thinking about what I would do, what they should do, and thinking that these NFL people are pretty smart. And so, given that, and sticking with, what Pete Carroll likes and what he's won with, a guy like Will Johnson, who I don't understand exactly why he's fallen so far down, but for up until recently, he was consistently projected as a top 10 player in the draft, but he's fallen a lot. And maybe he had a disappointing year to some degree, but he just looks like a Legion of Boom, Pete Carroll kind of corner. He plays like one. He's great in zone, but he can play. I mean, he just looks like a Pete Carroll corner, like the glory days of the Seahawks. That's what he reminds me of. And that pick right there just makes a ton of sense. Even though some people will say that's a reach, it's a need for them, and I think it's a perfect fit, and I think it could end up, well, it wouldn't be a steal at 6, but I think it would be accurate value for a position of need for them. Now, with the Jets, this is a similar thing, because I don't think right tackles are often shouldn't go in the top 10. That's why I was so furious about the J.C. Latham pick last year. And then I kind of became okay with it shortly afterwards when I heard that Bill Callahan, who's most people agree one of, if not the best offensive line coaches in the game, was sort of the mastermind behind it and said he was going to move him to the left side, and he believed he could do it. And so I was like, okay, well, it turns out that was wrong, and now he's going to go to the right side. Anyway, I'm making the point against this pick, but I think Armand Membu, if you watch this dude, he is a friggin' monster. And if you pair him with Olu Fashanu on the other side, that could be a pair of bookends for the Jets for the next decade. I mean, this could be a very, very special thing, and I'm all about the offensive line. I'm a big, big believer. That's why I said I love what the Titans did this offseason. I'm a big, big believer, and if you've got 2 star tackles, you're in a good position. And maybe that's coming from the old Titans. That's what we always used to have back in the day. But Armand Membu, even though he is going to be a right tackle, they've got Fashanu, who should be, I still believe, is going to be a really good left tackle. That could be a very special, very cheap duo for them for the next couple of years, and a very special duo for them for the next decade. And it would make Justin Fields, I think, much, much safer, and should make him pretty happy and feel pretty protected. So, moving on. The Panthers. Sorry, I got distracted by something. I don't know if that's looking like that on the video. Is it? Nah. All right, so the Panthers. In this instance, I've just got them going who the best receiver in the draft, according to most people. I honestly go back and forth on McMillan because he doesn't have that elite speed, and just speaking personally, that's not normally my kind of receiver. Like, that's not the kind of receiver I use in Madden. Like, I like the speedsters or the guys who are special with the ball in their hands. He's a man beater. He's a one-on-one, back shoulder jump ball, like that kind of guy. And he could be special. He could be, like, if he can refine his route running, he could be that sort of Devontae Adams, DeAndre Hopkins type that, it doesn't even matter if he's got the speed. Like, he can beat you. And the Panthers need help at a lot of positions. They need to help Bryce Young specifically, and giving him the guy that most people believe is the best receiver in the draft outside of Travis Hunter, if you're considering him a receiver, I think that makes sense. And I think just giving him, I think that type of receiver would be good for Bryce Young. Just having somebody that he can just trust to throw it up to. Like, if he sees one-on-one with him, he can feel good about it. Like, I think that would be good for Bryce Young, who I still, I'm go back and forth, but I still believe he could be a good NFL quarterback, and the Panthers are still, trying with him. So the best thing they could do, I think, right now, given that their offensive line isn't great, they spent a lot of money on those guards, but he needs weapons. I mean, right now, is his best receiver a 30-something-year-old Adam Thielen, I think? So yeah, this just makes sense to me. Then moving to the Saints. Boop. I've got Mykel Williams going as the number 2 edge rusher off the board. Now, I know there are a lot of differing opinions. A lot of people have Jalen Walker ahead of him. I just think Mykel Williams has the better traits. Like, he's the bigger guy. He looks more the part of an elite edge rusher. Like, he's 6'5", whereas Walker's 6'1", 6'2", and they're both very versatile. And I'm not, 100%. I think they both could be good. They both could be bust. But to me, I just see him as being the earlier pick and a position of need for the Saints. They have got to get better up there. And yeah, I think Mykel Williams is a guy who, you really can't go wrong with Georgia defenders, especially up front nowadays. So that seems like a sensible pick to me. Now, they're not going to reach for a quarterback if Sanders and Ward are both off the board, I don't think. But, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. And I'm not doing trades. I'm not doing any mock trades, although trades will happen, obviously. They're so impossible to predict that I don't usually do them in my mock drafts. I might do one later that has it. But this is a possibility where maybe they do trade back. A lot of people think maybe the Bears at 10 will trade back. If the Steelers are, if Shedeur especially is still sitting there. I just don't see that happening. I think Shedeur is going number 3. If he doesn't go number 3, then this would be his landing spot, I believe. The Saints at number 9, unless somebody jumps ahead of them, which the only other team would be the Saints, and that would cost, or the Steelers, and that would cost a lot to move from 21 ahead of 9. So, Mykel Williams, great player, position of need, just makes sense. Bears at number 10. Now, here's your Ashton Jeanty. So, again, I'm not a huge believer in taking running backs in the top 10, but I look at the Bears roster, and I looked at the depth charts for most of these teams. Like, I researched this, and, I tried to do the best I could here. I looked at the Bears roster earlier today, and I was surprised at how good it looked. And just from the starters that they have, how few needs they really seem to have. And given that Ben Johnson's coming in, who really could turn them around and help them become a good team, they've got the guy they believe is their franchise quarterback. They've got a decent offensive line. Although this could be a spot where Will Campbell goes, maybe, but I don't know. I think, that left tackle, sort of underrated. He's good enough. They've obviously got Darnell Wright. They've got plenty of weapons, but Ashton Jeanty here, that could be the Jahmyr Gibbs pick for the Lions. And we saw what Ben Johnson was able to do with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Ashton Jeanty could be the sort of Jahmyr Gibbs to, DeAndre Swift, who they already have on the roster. Pairing those two, having Jeanty play more of the third down speedster role, but really they're just interchangeable, exactly like what Ben Johnson did in with the Lions. I think this pick would make a ton of sense, and they are a team that maybe they're not like they don't have everything all put together right now, but given the coaching history, what he's done with these dual running backs, the talent that Jeanty has, and the fact that they have a pretty good roster already, I think this makes a ton of sense. So, wow, I gotta go pick up my daughter. So, just to recap, we've got the Titans doing the sensible, common sense, obvious, don't screw this up thing and taking the franchise quarterback of Cam Ward. We've got the Browns forming the most terrifying edge rusher duo in the league. We've got the Giants taking their future quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. We've got the Patriots having the best player in the draft maybe fall in their lap, or the best athlete in the draft, I will say. We've got the Jaguars also doing the obvious thing and taking Mason Graham. We've got the Raiders with maybe a surprise pick of Will Johnson, who's fallen down a lot of draft boards, but I still think's the best just pure corner in the draft. The best right tackle in the draft. And here's another thing, just a point. The left tackles in this draft are questionable. Mimbu, the reason he's climbed up draft boards similar to what Latham did last year is because he's more of a sure thing at right tackle. I see Will Johnson and I hear the same sort of stuff about him that I heard about Peter Skoronski coming out, and we saw, he ended up not able to play left tackle. We just put him right at guard. I'm afraid that same thing might happen to Will Campbell. And you're not going to use a top 10 pick on a guy, I don't think, that you're just going to put at guard. So Armand Membu is a monster, and I think would make a very, very formidable duo for the present and future of the Jets. Teteroa McMillan, the number one consensus receiver in the draft, to give Bryce Young just a reliable, big-bodied receiver with a ridiculous catch radius. Michael Williams, super talented edge rusher at a position of need, a Georgia defender for the Saints, and the Bears get their own version of what the Lions had with Gibbs and Montgomery. They pair Ashton Genty with Swift and Caleb Williams, all the weapons they have, a decent offensive line, a good defense. The Bears actually might be decent next year. All right, so stay tuned, subscribe, stay tuned. I will come. Oh, my picture's in the way here. I'm going to move me up here for a second. Burp. All right. Stay tuned. I will try to do the next 11 through 20 picks as soon as possible. You guys know my schedule's ridiculous. I've got schoolwork. I work 50 hours a week, and I've got 3 kids to take care of, but I'm going to try my best to get this out there as quickly as possible. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please comment. Please let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with anything, you disagree with anything, you have any thoughts on it. I'd love to hear them, love to chat with you. You can follow me also on all the social medias. I'm at HDW Pursley. Subscribe to the podcast as well. It's Talking Sports at Work. I'll talk to you again soon. All right. Love you. Bye.